This problem or this lesson is about reasoning strategies. Now in algebra and also other subjects, it's it's common to where you have a question and you have to think through it and use logic to solve the problem. And sometimes they're not straightforward. You have to have kind of a plan of attacking the problem um, so you know how to approach it. And we're going to go over one way that you can do that. And it's going to entail three different phases. And we're going to start with phase 1. Phase 1. And some of these things may be common knowledge, but we'll go over it, and that way you can at least have an outline of a plan of how you want to start to attack some of these word problems. So phase 1 is understand the problem. Understand the problem. Understand the problem. And what I mean by this is you need to understand what you're trying to solve or what you're trying to find. So you can ask yourself a few different questions. You can ask, well, first of all, what am I trying to find? What am I trying to find? So what am I trying to find? And then another question, well, what do I know already? Or what information has been given? So what data or what information, I'm going to put data, what data is given? What has been provided? What data is given? And then a third question you can ask is, have I ever seen a similar problem, or have I ever solved a similar problem? So have I seen this before? And if you've seen a similar problem and can remember how you solved it, that's a very good question to ask yourself. Have I seen this before? Okay, that's phase 1. So in any given question or problem, you're going to want to know, well, what am I trying to find? What has been given to me? So what information do I have available? And not all the information that's given to you may apply to solving the problem. Sometimes you'll get problems that provide extra information that may be designed to throw you off, or it may just be extra information that you don't really need to solve the problem. And then, have you seen it before? And what did you do when you saw it before? Okay, now phase 2. Phase 2, after you understand the problem, you'll need to develop and carry out a plan. So phase 2 is going to be our plan. And again, you're going to have a couple questions that you can ask yourself. You can ask, what strategies might I use to solve the problem? So what strategies? Strategies. Okay, what strategies might I use to solve the problem? And then another question, well, how can I correctly carry out the strategies I selected? So after you decide on a strategy, you need to know what to do with it. So what to do with the strategy? To do with the strategy. Oops. Strategy. Okay, that's phase 2. And that's easier said than done sometimes. Sometimes it's easy to decide on a strategy, but then you may question, well, how do I actually use that? And then you have the last phase. Okay, so phase 3. Phase 3 is find the answer and then check your answer. Sometimes you might find an answer, and then when you check it, you may not have carried out your strategy correctly, or you may have chosen a strategy that didn't get you the correct answer. So phase 3 is find the answer and check the answer. Okay, phase 3 is find the answer and then check it. So does your answer check out? Does my answer check out? Does my answer work? And this sometimes is the most important step. Once you get to the end, you want to know if the answer you got is the correct one. So does my answer check? And then what is the answer to the problem? So find the answer. Well, you can ask the question, well, what is the answer? What is the answer? If you can't answer that, then you can't move on to the next problem. What is the answer? And sometimes when you're going through a problem, you may decide what I am trying to find, but then partway through the problem, you may get what seems like an answer, but it's not actually the answer. Maybe you solved for a variable or something, and that didn't actually answer what the question was asking. So what is the answer? Does your answer work? So you always want to go back to the original question and check. And then does the answer seem reasonable? Sometimes you'll get an answer and it doesn't seem reasonable. So is the answer reasonable? Reasonable. And then the last question you can ask is, have I stated the answer clearly? So did I write it down so that someone else can read it? So is my answer stated clearly? And this could be to benefit other people, but it could also be to benefit yourself. If you're going back through your notes to study for a test, or if you have a job later in life and you found an answer to something but you didn't take notes or you didn't write it down, and then or you wrote it down in such a way that you can't go back and understand it, then I mean, this is just a good habit to develop, is writing down your answers clearly. Make sure that they're stated clearly so that you or anyone else can come back and read it and understand. Okay, that's an introduction to reasoning strategies. In the next video, we'll take a look at a couple questions and apply these strategies to see how they would actually work in practice.